In the first video, we saw a high school girl named Hiiro Wakaba suddenly get reincarnated as a spider-like creature named Kumoko after an explosion in Japan. Kumoko found herself stuck in a huge labyrinth full of powerful monsters, but after gaining enough experience points by killing other monsters, she was able to acquire the skills to defeat the strongest monster, a dragon named Araba. After defeating Araba, Kumoko finally found a way out of the Great Elroe Labyrinth back to the surface. The story continues when Kumoko escapes from the underground cave and is immediately attacked by archers that are guarding the exit. She uses her insane powers to destroy their fort before running away. After escaping, she decides to find a way that she could walk around without being attacked by humans, so she concludes that she's going to evolve into an Arachne, a creature that is half human and half spider. Suddenly, Kumoko receives a telepathic message from the mother spider, who is furious that she left the labyrinth and demands that she return immediately. Thanks to her heresy nullification skill, Kumoko can't be controlled by the mother spider, so she refuses to return to the cave. 15 years into the future, the king and his sons meet with Potamus, the chief of the elves, and Oka, who happens to be his daughter. They've all gathered at the royal palace to discuss the ongoing war between the humans and demons. Shunsuke's remaining brothers, Silas and Leston, disagree about what should happen to their younger brother. While Silas wants Shunsuke to be sent to war immediately, Leston points out that he's too young and inexperienced to go up against the Demon Lord and her army. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Kanata and Sue are kidnapped by Natsume. 15 years into the past, Kumoko is being chased by monster spiders that were sent by her mother. Using her webs, Kumoko traps the spiders and attacks them with magic, but some of them escape. As a result, she's forced to teleport the strongest amongst them to the lava lake, where she burns and devours it before eating the others. Afterward, she realizes that her mind must be telepathically connected to the mother spider, so she creates a gateway to the mother spider's mind and sends 3 of her parallel minds to attack her. They begin devouring the mother spider's mind. 15 years into the future, it is revealed that Natsume is plotting an evil scheme with Shunsuke's older half-brother Silas. Not long after that, Kumoko finds a coach being attacked by bandits, so she steps in to assist, hoping to get more experience points. After killing the bandits, she inspects the couple and their baby and discovers that it's a vampire and was reincarnated as a child named Sophia. A while later, Kumoko encounters a group of elves who are planning to kill the baby, so she decides to protect the baby and kills them instead, but decides not to get involved anymore. 15 years into the future, Sue invites Shunsuke into the throne room. Suddenly, she kills the king before yelling and accusing Shunsuke of killing him. As if on cue, Silas arrives with his knights along with Natsume to apprehend him. Silas wants to secure the throne for himself, and Natsume wants to have his revenge against Shunsuke, so the two join forces to frame him for the king's death. It turns out that the king wanted to make Shunsuke king as soon as possible, so he wouldn't have to go to war. It's also revealed that Natsume brainwashed Sue, which explains her actions. Shunsuke gets enraged and attacks Natsume, but just then, a girl named Sophia interrupts the fight, and it turns out she's the girl who helped Natsume get his powers back and promised to help him get revenge. As Natsume prepares to deliver the finishing blow to Shunsuke, Hyris and Shunsuke's elf aide, Anna, joins them and helps them escape. The fight gets out of control when Silas' soldiers begin fighting against Leston's forces. After Leston finally saves them, Oka informs them that the rebel soldiers have declared that Natsume is the new hero. Inside the cave where they're hiding, the rebel soldiers arrive and ambush them. The soldiers are being led by a brainwashed Kanata. Even though Shunsuke manages to wake her mind up, her body is still under the spell. Not wanting to hurt Shunsuke, Kanata stabs herself with her sword, but he rushes quickly to her and manages to heal her. Just then, Sophia appears and reveals that she has killed Potamus. After taking a closer look at Sophia, Shunsuke realizes that she's a reincarnation just like him. Shunsuke and the others try to escape after saving Kanata, but Sophia attacks him with powerful magic. Oka tries to hold her off, but she quickly subdues her. However, before she can deal a killing blow, Faye, who had evolved into a huge white dragon, suddenly arrives to separate them and save Kanata. Shunsuke and the others quickly climb on her back before she flies them to safety. 15 years earlier, we see that Kumoko's parallel mind eating are still eating away at the mother spider's mind. However, despite their efforts, the mother spider isn't reacting, so they are left perplexed. Suddenly, The mother spider blasts a huge hole leading out of the labyrinth and traps the parallel minds inside her mind so that they can't contact Kumoko to warn her. While wandering around the land, Kumoko suddenly feels the earth rumbling, and when she turns around, she sees the gigantic mother spider advancing towards her. Observing her stats, she sees that the mother spider, the Queen Pterodactyl, is insanely powerful and is even 5 times stronger than Araba. Knowing she doesn't even stand a chance, she immediately turns around and runs for her life while the mother spider gives chase and attacks her with magic spells. Just when she's about to be hit by one of the blasts, Kumoko teleports herself to one of her old web nests back in the Elroe Labyrinth. Unfortunately, she's immediately confronted by 5 arch pterodactyls and many smaller pterodactyls. Despite being wounded by the vicious monster, she manages to escape with 1 health point remaining. As she continues running to safety, she's once again confronted by another dangerous creature. This time, it's a weird 6-armed puppet that stands in her way. Without wasting any time, the puppet charges at her with several blades and starts to attack her with advanced sword skills. While trying to hold off the puppet, the other pterodactyls are advancing faster nearby. Determined to stay alive, Kumoko unleashes a barrage of black magic attacks on the horde of pterodactyls while simultaneously using a skill called Jinx's Evil Eye to absorb the magic points of the enemies. However, this skill doesn't work out, so Kumoko decides to single out the weakest ones amongst the pterodactyls and kill them, hoping she can quickly boost her experience points so she can level up and regain her health. Just then, the puppet catches Kumoko's leg with one of his strings before pushing one of the high arch pterodactyls on top of her to crush her to death. However, Kumoko is determined to survive, so she quickly sacrifices one of her eyes to cast a spell called Annihilating Evil Eye, which she uses to destroy the arch pterodactyl. Luckily, this skill works and she gains enough experience points to level up. After attacking another arch pterodactyl, she teleports herself to the middle of the labyrinth. Getting to a higher level, Kumoko levels up and then evolves into a creature called the Zana Haroa. Back in Shunsuke's timeline, we see that he and the others have gotten into a safe place for hiding. There, Oka informs them that Natsume plans to attack the elf village. To save the village, Shunsuke and the others would have to pass through the Great Elroe Labyrinth, which is notorious for being the most dangerous labyrinth in the world. While the others plan to go to the elf village to save it, Leston believes that Shunsuke is strong enough to lead them to victory, so he informs them that he's going back to the castle to help protect the kingdom from Silas and his army. Back in the past, after evolving into the Zana Haroa, Kumoko discovers that she has now obtained the skill of immortality. As a result, a smartphone appears again, and she is contacted by Administrator D, who congratulates her for being the first to reach his species. As a reward for his achievement, the administrator reveals why she and the other classmates were reincarnated before departing. Administrator D reveals that they were summoned as an apology because the explosion that killed everyone was an attempt on her life by a previous hero and Demon King. It is also revealed that the administrator is also one of the reincarnated students, but refuses to disclose her identity. In the present, Shunsuke's party has reached the labyrinth, where they recruit a guy named Basgoth to lead them through it, and Faye reveals she can now assume a human form. Natsume's Imperial Army is guarding the entrance, so the guide sneaks them in through an undersea entrance. Despite being confronted by a water dragon, the party still manages to make it out alive. Back in the past, Kumoko has reached the sea, where after having her water dragon encounter, she gets an idea since she has some unfinished business in the labyrinth. Kumoko decides to challenge the puppet again, and kills it by flooding the cave with water before making her way back outside. However, she is suddenly ambushed by the Demon Lord, the Origin Pterodactyl Ariel, who immediately blasts her body to pieces. In the Demon Realm, Ariel prepares to attack the elf village. Meanwhile, inside the labyrinth, Shunsuke's party continues their journey, slaying several monsters with ease. Later, they set up camp so they can rest for a while, following Basgoth's advice. Waking up from a nightmare, Shunsuke is unable to sleep, and Basgoth tells him about how he once encountered Kumoko, who is now known as the Nightmare of the Labyrinth. Finding themselves at a crossroads, with time running out, the group decides to follow a shortcut which is also a notoriously dangerous route through the Nightmare's former home. This leads them to being attacked by an earth dragon, but they manage to defeat it. However, they are suddenly confronted by a swarm of Nightmare's vestiges, spider-type monsters said to be the Nightmare's offspring. Something strange suddenly happens, because the moment the vestiges realize that Shunsuke and his party are reincarnations, the creatures let them pass. Eventually, the group makes it out of the labyrinth by flying through an opening on the back of Faye's dragon form. In the past, We see that Kumoko survived thanks to her immortality skill, but concludes that she must be more careful because there's some kind of magic that can kill even immortals. Elsewhere, Ariel fiercely realizes that Kumoko is alive when one of her parallel minds uses her link with the mother spider to attack her mind. After growing her body back, Kumoko finds herself near Sophia's hometown, Karen County, which is once again being targeted by assassins. She senses the coach she has earlier and decides to follow them a second time. When the coach arrives at its destination, a mansion, a man named John is the father of a baby Sophia, and he asks his men to investigate the spider monster they encountered earlier. In the present, Shunsuke's party says goodbye to Basgath before traveling through that same town. While there, they learn of the hatred between the world's two dominant religions, the Word of God Church and the Goddess religion. Miss Oko reveals that Natsume has likely brainwashed the heads of the church, so Shunsuke concludes that they must defeat him at all costs. Back in the past, Kumoko kills the elves trying to abduct Sophia along with anyone suspicious. However, this gets the attention of Potamus, who fears Ariel and the church might have realized his intentions to gather the reincarnations. At the same time, the church's pontiff, Dustin, also finds out about Kumoko's activities, but decides to ignore them because he's preparing for war against the goddess religion. The people of the town eventually become aware of Kumoko as well, and believes she is a divine beast sent by the goddess. One day, a desperate mother brings her sick child to Kumoko and begs her to heal him, which she reluctantly does. However, the next day, Kumoko is shocked to see that the news has spread so fast and the entire town has now lined up waiting to receive healing from her. When Shunsuke's party finally arrives at the elf village, they're surprised to be met by Potamus, who they thought was killed during Natsume's Ancillus Q. After a night's rest, Oka leads Shunsuke, Faye, and Kanata to the other reincarnations being held at the elf village. However, during their reunion, the others reveal that they were kidnapped by the elves, causing Shunsuke and his party to become suspicious. Back in the past, Sophia's parents are contacted by the neighboring country, who are demanding that they hand over Kumoko to them, so they can punish her because she destroyed their first when she escaped from the labyrinth. However, that's not something that they can easily do because all the people are already worshipping her. Potamus then arrives, but he decides to not make a move on Sophia while Nameless is nearby. Sensing that her mother has been weakened enough by the parallel minds, Kumoko teleports to her to finally kill her, only to end up falling in a trap that nearly kills her. However, her parallel minds then return to her, transferring all the experience points that they stole from her mother onto her, and allowing her to easily kill the Queen Teratek before retreating. Afterward, Ariel finds the mother spider's corpse and swears vengeance before she's confronted by an earth dragon. The dragon claims it is natural for the elderly to make way for their children, but the statement engages her so she attacks it. When Sophia's parents refuse to hand Kumoko over, an envoy from a neighboring kingdom appears before Kumoko and declares her their property, but she just finds them annoying and walks away. Meanwhile, John gets worried that Kumoko might become the trigger that starts a war between the two kingdoms. Later, Kumoko is then confronted by the same armored administrator she met in the labyrinth. He introduces himself as Galidestodes and requests her to stop attacking Ariel and interacting with humans, encouraging her to keep living her life quietly. However, she refuses, arguing that she must interfere to prevent the apocalypse. Unfortunately, after Guli leaves, Kumoko is attacked by the envoy's guards, so she's forced to kill them in self-defense. However, the neighboring country capitalizes on the death of its diplomats and uses it as an excuse to declare war. As a result, Kumoko decides to face their army herself, seeing that she was the one who caused the war in the first place. In the present, Oka wonders if she has made the right choices concerning the reincarnated students. It turns out that she has a unique skill called Student Roster that tells her the reincarnation's place of birth, health, and how they would die. The skill caused her to make a deal with Potamus to effectively imprison the students in the elf village for their safety. Meanwhile, Ariel's forces have infiltrated Natsume's army and are using them as cover as they march towards the elf village. While preparing for the upcoming battle, Shunsuke's party is joined by two more of their former classmates, Kunihiko and Asaka. Oka informs them of the elves' theory as to why they were reincarnated. The system that governs this world is controlled by beings known as administrators, who feed off the energy of people's skills because they summon them so they can acquire special skills. She reveals that Natsume is probably being manipulated by the administrators, whilst Sophia serves them willingly. The group wonders what could have happened to the two reincarnations who are still missing. Suddenly, the entrance to the elf village is attacked by one of the reincarnated classmates named Sajin, who becomes a church assassin. Sajin destroys the entrance and retreats after locking everyone inside. The barrier surrounding the village is suddenly destroyed, allowing Natsume's army to easily attack. As a result, Oka is forced to lead the elves in a counterattack, and because of her skill, she already knows that Natsume is destined to die in the elf village. With this confidence, she charges with her army to face him to personally kill him. However, although she manages to take out a brainwashed Yuika, Natsume overpowers her with help from Sophia. Regardless, before she can finish her off, she is saved by the arrival of Shunsuke and his party. In the past, Kumoko joins the battle against the neighboring country, and this leads to massive casualties for the enemy when Ariel suddenly appears. It turns out that after Ariel killed the dragon, her soul merged with Kumoko's parallel mind that had previously jumped over to her, causing her to acquire some of Kumoko's traits. As a result, she no longer wants to kill Kumoko. However, she still wants revenge and has Gulidis Todes, who came to check on her, teleports her to Kumoko's location so she can punish her. Arriving at her location, Ariel puts up a barrier to prevent Kumoko from escaping the fight. She then uses several skills that prevent Kumoko from using magic or teleporting, forcing her to rely on healing herself by leveling up, using the experience points gathered from collateral damage just to stay alive. Eventually, their battle is interrupted by a young Julius, causing Ariel to stop out of fear of the secret effect of the hero, which causes them to always win against the Demon Lord. However, Ariel manages to distract them before using Abyss Magic, which can kill even immortals, to vaporize Kumoko. In the present, despite his allies wanting to help, Shunsuke insists on fighting Natsume alone. As the battle in the elf village continues, Potamus, not caring what happens to the reincarnated students, orders the Glory units to be sent into battle. Meanwhile, Shunsuke and Natsume fight fiercely on the battlefield until he finally defeats Natsume. Sophia refuses to help Natsume, revealing that her allegiance lies with the demons and that they were only using him as a cover-up to get to the elf village. Natsume is furious that he was easily deceived and tries to attack her, but she effortlessly knocks him aside. Shunsuke and his party fight her, but they are similarly overpowered with ease. Faye attempts to surrender on everybody's behalf, but Shun refuses to give up, believing Julius would not either. Unfortunately, they are ambushed by reinforcements led by the last missing classmate, who happens to be the 8th Demon Army Commander, Wrath. The commander is revealed to be Kyoda, who has Shunsuke's friend in their previous lives. Despite being outgunned, the elves launch their counterattack using the Gloria units, which are revealed to be mechanical tank drones. The units kill all of the demons except Sophia and Wrath. After 15 years in the past, Kumoko is destroyed by Ariel's Abyss Magic, but she comes back to life by hatching from one of the eggs she laid. It turns out that she obtained Queen Teratek's egg-laying skill, which allows her to transport one of her parallel minds into an egg so that she can always come back to life. Afterward, she receives a message from Administrator D informing her that she can evolve again, so she finally evolves into Arachne, a girl with white hair and a spider's torso. Elsewhere, Ariel decides to check on Sophia and Wrath, so she heads for the elf village with the woman in white who killed Julius. Shunsuke tries to stop Sophia and Wrath, but is overpowered and Anna takes a lethal blow for him. Desperate, Shunsuke revives her with a Forbidden Mercy skill. However, this raises his Taboo skill to level 10, causing him to learn the truth of the world. Regaining consciousness, Natsume tries to attack Sophia, but is knocked unconscious by the woman in white. Shunsuke and his party immediately recognize her as their classmate Hiiro Wakaba, who everyone thought was dead because Oka said so. In the past, Wakaba survives Ariel's attacks by transferring her consciousness into an egg she laid beforehand and hatches as a newborn and evolves into Arachne. Afterward, she goes to John's mansion to try and save the baby Sophia. Meanwhile, Potamus attacks Sophia's home, kills her parents, and fatally injures the family butler, Merizophis, forcing her to turn him into a vampire. As a vampire, he's able to fight off all the elves and swears to protect Sophia from Potamus, who sees the baby as a threat to him. Just then, Kumoko arrives and knocks Potamus away. She then uses her new evil eye to perform a skill called Warping Evil Eye, which distorts space and time to rip the other elves apart. Potamus forces her into a corner until Ariel appears and kills him by cutting his head off, revealing he was only a mechanical copy. Ariel then calls for a truce since their souls have merged and she no longer wants to kill her. Kumoko agrees before leaving with Sophia, and Merazophis, who also agrees to follow Ariel back to demon territory since they would be safer there. Back in the present, Wakaba's party sets out to defeat Potamus and all his other clones for good. That brings us to the end of today's recap on the anime So I'm a Spider, So What? I hope you enjoyed this recap as much as I did. Please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, and kindly comment below if you would like to see the next part. Bye and thanks for watching. See you next time.